All right. How's everyone doing today? Pretty good. It's a Friday. Anyone have any big weekend plans? No? Is anyone gonna make a snow angel, snowman, prime opportunity? Is anyone here just a huge fan of snow to begin with? You are? What's your favorite snow time activity? What is it? Snowball fights? Like the movie Elf? Well, so as Mr. Slonik was saying, we are going to be talking about a time in a continent far, far away. Just a little Star Wars joke for you guys there. But we're going to be talking about the Aztec and the Incan ancient civilizations, kind of what they look like, where they're at, and at the end, kind of see, well, what is there now? Whether it was the Aztec and Incan civilizations. So, what we're going to do is just to start with, just a quick overview of what. Here we go. So the Aztec Empire. So the Aztec Empire lasted from 1345 to 1521 Central era, kind of. So it's like a pretty long time ago. Does anyone have any idea, or have you guys heard anything before about the Aztec Empire? No? A little bit, Gracie? What do you know? You can't remember?
I remember learning about it.
So the Aztec Empire, they were ginormous, they were large, and they were super feared. They were like these crazy warriors. Their kind of main god that they worshipped was the god of the sun, war, and sacrifice. So if you have ever heard of kind of like those crazy stories of human sacrifice, and where they would rip off the hearts, it's kind of graphic, a little bit gory, but those guys were the Aztecs. They were out there doing some crazy stuff. So they were pretty intimidating, and that's how they gained this large empire. And so their largest and most important city was called Tenochtitlan. Does anyone want to try to say that? Can we all say it together on the count of three? 1, 2, 3. Tenochtitlan. Yeah. So they had a lot of their cities were pretty complicated to say, but a little bit fun to say too. And so Tenochtitlan was actually located in the middle of the swamps of Lake Texcoco. We all say Lake Texcoco. That one I think is fun to say. Thank you for a one man over here supporting us all. So actually Tenochtitlan was in the middle of this lake, surrounded by water, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Have you guys ever seen those pictures of like Venice, Italy, and the people are on the gondolas and they're rowing? That's kind of like a little bit if you could picture like Tenochtitlan. They didn't have a lot of roads, but they had a lot of waterways and people would row. And so this was actually the Aztec holy city. And so their big, giant temple was here also in the middle of the city. So then here is the Incan Empire. So these were actually the people in South America. And they were over by the Andes Mountains. Does anyone know what this animal is right here? A llama? Alpaca llama? Yeah. It's a llama. Llamas were huge to the Incans. Have you guys ever seen the movie The Emperor's New Groove with Cusco? So actually that's a little bit taken from the Incan Empire. The Incans' kind of main city was Cusco. And if you remember The Emperor's New Groove, Cusco gets turned into a llama. And so llamas were huge there. They used to carry them around. They would shear them. They made their clothes from llama fur. And the Incan Empire, similar time frame as the Aztecs, even though they're pretty far apart, was 1438 to 1572. And the Incan Empire also ginormous. But they weren't necessarily like these crazy warriors doing human sacrifices like the Aztecs. They were just so big that how they would get people to join them is they would go to these new cities or villages, and they'd say, "Hey, do you want to join us?" And they'd be like, "No way, man. We're doing our own thing." And then the Incans would bring this ginormous army of thousands and thousands of people and be like, "Well, then you're gonna have to fight us." And they'd be like, "All right, dude. Actually, I think we changed our mind. We'll join you." And then when they would get more people, then their army would get even bigger. So they just kind of took over this whole region in the Andes Mountain Range. And so one of the craziest things about the Incans, so they're living in these mountains, and so they have to travel, and so like the Aztecs had to use these canoes to get around these waterways. The Incans made 18,000 miles of a roadway system up in these mountains.
Good morning. This is the last interruption, and this is the last call. So any student that has not had their picture taken and needs their picture taken, please report to the cafeteria at this time. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Does anyone got to get their picture taken? No?
Gone first hour, so.
And so a couple of just fun facts about the Incans. Gold was super important to them. Their god, kind of like the Aztecs, was related to the sun. His name was Inti, though. He was a little bit less scary and didn't require human sacrifices. But gold was everywhere around them. And so they had a lot of gold that they would make things from. And so actually when the Spanish came to try to South America, they were super interested in the Incans because they had so much gold they thought they could take from them. But gold, actually, there was so much gold, the Incans weren't necessarily like impressed with how much gold there was. They're just like, well, yeah, we got our gold everywhere, we're rich. And they were also the first people to cultivate the potato. So, isn't that kind of crazy? So when you're eating your Thanksgiving mashed potatoes, think about the Incans and say, well, thank you for cultivating this first potato. And so the rest of what we're going to do today is we're kind of going to take a look into the past and use images and pictures and paintings that the Incans and the Aztecs would have made, or that people would have done to recreate them. Or as you can see here, this is actually a picture of Tenochtitlan that someone recreated of what it would have looked like. It is sick, huh? Yeah, as you can see, just surrounded by water. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at them and try to see how the physical features of Lake Texcoco and the Andes Mountains would have affected kind of the daily life of the Incans and the Aztecs, and see how it would have impacted them. And so you guys are going to do a little bit of historical research and use these pictures to kind of answer questions about what life would have been like back then. So we're just going to practice kind of looking at this first image and trying to get as much information out of it as we can. Does that sound good? Yeah? Awesome. So let's all just take like 15, 30 seconds and kind of study this image and think about thoughts or ideas or things that you might take away about the Aztecs when you look at this image right here.
Gracie, I'm going to turn off the light switch closest to the door so you can see it a little bit better.
Thanks, Gracie. All right, everyone ready? Has everyone developed some thoughts? What are some of the thoughts or ideas that maybe you can now predict about Aztec life or take away from looking at this image? What are you guys thinking? Anybody? Yeah, what's up?
The sun's shining just on the little thing.
Kind of right here? Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think that maybe can tell us that?
But
This,
that's the most important.
yeah, this huge temple right here. Anyone else? Yeah, what's up?
It's kind of laid out like city blocks.
Yeah, you can see each little square as they move along. And you can even see there's kind of like these 4 quadrant zones. Anyone else? What more can we get from this image? Gracie, yeah.
They valued their like temples.
Huh?
They valued their temples, so it's like in the middle.
Yeah, everything is kind of centralized right here. You can even, you see these roadways coming right to the temple. Anyone else? What do you think it would have been like living here, maybe, after seeing this picture of it? Busy? Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. Anyone else? Can I get one more? Zach, you said it was sick. Will you expand on that profound idea a little bit more?
No, it's just sick and big.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep doing things like that as we go throughout today. So can you guys actually bring out your iPads and go to Schoology? And then on Schoology you'll find, it's called the Aztec and Incan Art Gallery.
It'll be in your Thursday, Friday folders.
Thursday, Friday folders. And just give me a thumbs up whenever y'all have it pulled up.
Do we have to put on notability?
Yeah. Put a notability. Everyone have it good to go? Some people still working on it. Sometimes the internet doesn't always move as fast as we might want it to. So when you pull up the art gallery worksheet in Notability, you'll see there's those 2 maps of Central America and South America in the beginning. But if you guys could slide down to the middle, there's a big kind of question zone. And then there's like an Aztec option with some questions and some Incan option with some questions. Could we scroll to there? So the original plan was to kind of have you guys be able to have this PowerPoint on your iPad and to be able to scroll through on your own and kind of do what we just did with the big city of Tenochtitlan. But technology doesn't always work like you want it to, but that's okay. So we're actually going to go through this art gallery together of pictures and images and recreations of Aztec and Incan life, while you guys kind of follow along and answer those questions right there. Does that make sense? So, we're just going to kind of scroll through. And since we're all doing this together, we can even maybe share some thoughts and images like we did last time. So I'll just go through all the pictures once, and you guys take them in, and then we can kind of go through them again and talk about them more. Sound good? So what are we taking away from these images? Anything? Anyone got an idea? Or something they found that they thought was kind of interesting or cool?
Fish traps.
Huh?
Using fish traps.
Yeah, they got a little net for fish, and Steve's standing up right there. What about right here? I think this one is super cool. What do you guys think? What can we maybe notice from it? Huh? Gardens growing on water. What is it? Maybe look at some of these things that they're growing. Do these look like just like normal gardens? What do we think here? Crops? Yeah, like these farms in the middle of the water. That's kind of crazy, huh? Yeah. And then what is this kind of, maybe this inside look of Kanoch Salon, maybe tell us. Or we might find kind of crazy.
The temples are very important.
Yeah, you see this road kind of going right through it. Yeah. You kind of can see all these waterways a little bit better, right? Has everyone been able to do those first set of questions?
Except for the first where it's located.
Oh, that is where we go back to, what is this big,
Oh, it's
like,
on the lake.
yep, that we talked about. All right, is everyone good? We move on to the Incans a little bit, maybe? Yeah. So here we go. Here is the Incan Empire Art Gallery. So we'll kind of do the same thing. I'll go through the pictures slowly. We can just look them, take them all in, see what information about the Incans we can kind of gain. We have to put the potato in there. They invented it. What do you think this image is maybe showing us right here?
War.
What's that?
War.
Huh?
War.
What'd you say?
War.
War?
This,
What's up, my man?
that's gonna be green.
Oh, okay, I got you. Thinking it in.
Like carrying a king or something.
Huh?
Carrying like a king or something.
What's up?
They're like carrying a king or something.
Yeah. They got their king over here. They got all their llamas. What do we think this could be right here? I'm going all the way down. Maybe. Trail. Huge road system. I'll go through again. Yeah. What might they use something like this for? Farming? On the side of a mountain? Is everyone all good on these ones? Does anyone want to go back and see another one again, or do you think we're all set? We're all good? Can I get a thumbs up? How are we feeling about these? Pretty good? Come. So that was the last picture. But just some good things to take away kind of from this is just how much looking at pictures from these societies can tell us. I mean, what do they say? A picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So when kind of doing things like this, or as you go through and you study more cultures, a great way to learn about and kind of maybe get another experience is by looking at some maybe first-hand accounts of what things look like, or art and things like that the civilization might have actually made. So now we're kind of doing all this in a little bit of a wacky order, but if you want to scroll back up to the top and you see those maps, so for kind of the remainder of class, doing a little bit more of the geography part of this, let's kind of research, not kind of, but let's research and find out where these cities and these places and some of the physical objects features are on the map, and then jot them down on those two maps right there. Sound good? And then once you're done with that, move to the bottom of the page to kind of learn more about where what present countries and cities might be located in some of these crazy ancient civilizations from the Aztec and the Incans. Sound good? Does anyone have any questions? And I'll be here walking around, answering questions that you guys might have. Awesome. Thank you guys.